After saving a pregnant woman who was bleeding heavily on the side of the road, I got doxxed and attacked online. The pregnant woman accused me, saying I hit her, which caused her difficult labor and her baby's death. Not only was I suspended from my job, but angry internet people pushed me into the middle of the road, and I got hit by a big truck and died instantly. After I died, I saw the pregnant woman smiling and throwing herself into my husband's arms. Your idea was really good. Not only did that messed up baby get aborted smoothly, but we also got a ton of sympathy from netizens. I heard this kind of traffic is the easiest to cash in on. It's her own fault for being too rich. Now that she's dead, the money is ours. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day the pregnant woman got hit. Hey babe, here's the bank card. Go spend whatever you want today. When the guy in front of me leaned in, I flinched back like I was having a reaction. Mike frowned slightly, his voice a bit trying to be nice. I got goosebumps all over, and the intense hate made my teeth chatter without meaning to. Who would have thought this guy, who everyone saw as a perfect husband, had secretly gotten another woman pregnant, and was now working with her to try and kill me? Mike was seamless, his expression so natural that even after being reborn, I couldn't see anything suspicious. Thinking about how miserable I was in my last life, I laughed. You want to act? Fine. I'm going to mess with you two jerks so bad in this life. I reached up and grabbed his ear, giving it a hard twist. All right, then you're coming with me. I wanted him to see that other woman get hit with his own eyes, covered in blood. Mike couldn't win against me, so he came out with me. They planned all this deliberately, betting that as a woman, I wouldn't just stand by and let someone die. Based on how things went in my last life, that other woman should have already had her accident by now. So halfway there, I suddenly said, "Oops. Honey, I forgot my phone at home. I'll go back quickly." Mike frowned, but his speed didn't slow down at all. You forgot your phone? Maybe just leave it. Didn't I bring my debit card? I looked at him with a straight face. What if something comes up at work? If I don't go back for my phone, I'm not going. Mike glanced at me, looking like he wanted to say something. But in the end, he grit his teeth, turned the car around, and drove back home quickly. Hurry up, babe. I'll wait for you here. I agreed enthusiastically, but deliberately stalled upstairs for a while. They were absolutely determined not to have this baby. That other woman lying on the road bleeding was real, and it was an emergency situation. In my last life, they had calculated the timing perfectly. But this time, I specifically didn't want things to go their way. I finally came downstairs slowly after 10 minutes. Mike's face was sweating from being so anxious. As soon as I got in the car, he sped off. When we reached the section of road where the accident happened in my last life, Mike's speed visibly slowed down. Babe, someone's lying on the ground over there. Looks like they're bleeding. I lazily opened my eyes and looked up, seeing that other woman lying not far from us, holding her belly. There was a pool of blood under her, way more than in my last life. Seeing that I wasn't saying anything, Mike just pulled the car over. Babe, that woman looks pregnant. Go check on her. I sat there without moving and instead urged him to hurry up and go. Mike stared at me in surprise. Combined with my deliberate stalling earlier, he was already a bit annoyed. You're just going to watch, so indifferent? I looked at him like he was being dramatic. It's not my kid. What does it have to do with me? Mike looked like he'd been struck by lightning. He clearly didn't expect me to say that. Right. I had worked my way up to the position of second in command at the company over 10 years, and I was also the most empathetic towards women in the workplace. Sometimes when I saw women online being treated unfairly because of marriage and pregnancy, I would always complain to him about it. But I didn't know he was secretly recording me. When that other woman attacked me online, he edited the recording, cutting out parts. Oh, so you're pregnant? You're only telling me now when you're about to give birth? Who am I supposed to hand over your work to? What do you mean you told me a month in advance? I'm the boss. I'm busy with company matters every day. Who's going to remember petty things like that? Fine, go give birth. You take the day off. Go to the hospital early, so you don't end up with a double tragedy. These words were taken out of context by him with malicious intent. As soon as this recording came out, I was completely condemned. In this life, how could I possibly still be empathetic? Mike looked out the window, then back at me. Hurry up and go check on her. It's not convenient for me, I'm a man. She's pregnant, after all. That's 2 lives. I just said oh flatly. But think about it. What heavily pregnant woman goes out alone? Other people's daughters-in-law are treated like treasures in their late pregnancy. Maybe she's someone's mistress. As soon as I finished speaking, Mike roared. Enough. I never thought you were such a cold-blooded person. I smiled without a word. He thought he was a hero, but his angry embarrassment was too obvious. TSK, look at all that blood on the ground. My husband must be heartbroken. The moment he rushed out of the car, I slowly started recording a video. After all, I needed to prove that Mike, not me, was the one who saved the person this time. I really wanted to see them turn on each other. This area was sparsely populated with few cars, and it was also a bit far from the hospital. Mike reached out and felt a lot of blood under her. He visibly panicked. What are you waiting for? Call 911. At the hospital, that other woman was immediately rushed into surgery. Even though all of this was part of Mike's plan, they couldn't control the amount of bleeding. Where's the patient's family? The patient has lost too much blood and needs a blood transfusion, type B. Mike looked at me without hesitation. Sarah, you're type B. He wanted me to give blood to his mistress? Mike looked incredibly serious, but it didn't scare me at all. I climbed to the position of second in command at the company through my own efforts. It would be a joke if I could be intimidated by someone who earned $3,000 a month. Sarah, don't you understand the saying that saving a life is more virtuous than building a 7-story pagoda? Especially when it's 2 lives. His voice was loud, causing the surrounding doctors and nurses to look over. These 2 terrible people are really good at manipulating public opinion no matter what. Before I could speak, Mike said every word distinctly. Sarah, you've been a mother too. You've always been in good health. It shouldn't be a problem for you to donate 600 milliliters of blood in your condition. I laughed in anger. He still knew I had been pregnant, but it had only been 1 month since I had the abortion. He wanted me to donate blood, but instead, I grabbed his arm with one hand and the nurse with the other. Nurse, I had a miscarriage last month and just had an abortion surgery. Can I donate blood in this situation? The nurse was also a woman and could easily empathize with this situation. When she heard this, she glared at Mike. Her own body hasn't recovered yet. How can she donate blood? Mike was stunned, his mouth slightly open, unable to speak. More and more people gathered at the operating room door, and some even volunteered to help. But I suddenly grabbed Mike's arm. No one else needed. My husband is type B. He just said 600 milliliters wouldn't affect his health much. Let my husband be the good person here. After I said that, everyone's eyes turned to Mike. The nurse also grabbed him, ready to take blood, but Mike stood rooted to the spot, his face pale. The reason was simple. He was a little anemic. No, there are so many people here. Do I have to be the one to donate blood? I patted him on the shoulder. Honey, how can you say something like that? How can a real man stand by and do nothing when someone's dying? Saving a life is more virtuous than building a 7-story pagoda, especially when there's a pregnant woman in there. Everyone around us stared at him. Exactly. What did you just say about your wife? Hurry up and go. Stop dragging your feet. Can you act like a man? Someone's waiting to be saved in there. I watched with a smirk as everyone pushed him towards the blood donation area. In this situation, if he said no, he'd be drowned in spit. 600 cubic centimeters? Mike sat stiffly in the chair without moving. But as soon as they drew 500, he collapsed onto the floor with a thud. Everyone gasped, and I quickly ran over. As I ran, I said, I'm really proud of my husband. God knows how much effort I put into dealing with his anemia before. Who knows how long it will take him to recover from donating 500 milliliters. Mike was unconscious, his face completely pale. I stared at him, and scenes from my previous life flashed in my mind. In my previous life, I took the pregnant woman who was bleeding heavily after being scratched to the hospital but got scammed. There were no surveillance cameras on that road, and the pregnant woman insisted I hit her and demanded compensation. She cried online, gaining sympathy and inciting people to attack me online. Not only that, but they also dug up my home address and workplace. Not only was I suspended, but angry netizens pushed me into the middle of the road, leading to me being hit by a large truck and dying on the spot. It wasn't until after I died and saw the pregnant woman laughing and throwing herself into my husband's arms that I realized why my personal information was so easily exposed. That's when I realized that all of this was intentionally planned by them. Their goal was to get rid of me and inherit all my assets. Your idea was still the best. Not only did that deformed baby get aborted smoothly, but we also gained a lot of sympathy from netizens. I heard this kind of traffic is easiest to monetize. It's just her bad luck for being too rich. When she dies, the money will be ours. That other woman was using my credit cards and living in my house. She even used a mop to beat up my parents when they came to the house to confront Mike. Heh, your daughter was just short-lived. If you keep making trouble, do you believe I'll find someone to perform rituals so your daughter will be reborn as an animal forever? Later, they were actually a bit superstitious. They were probably afraid I would become a ghost and seek revenge. So they even put 2 protective charms on my urn. But to my surprise, because of these 2 charms, I was reborn. 2 hours later, Mike finally woke up slowly, but his eyes remained dazed. You knew I was anemic and still made me go. I pretended to be concerned and helped him sit up. Honey, didn't you say saving a life is more virtuous than building a 7-story pagoda? This is a good deed that accumulates good karma. Mike's face struggled for a long time, and finally, he clenched his teeth and asked, "How's the pregnant woman?" That other woman received 3 bags of blood and finally saved her life, but the baby was definitely gone. Mike and I went to her hospital room, and she was awake by then. But as soon as she saw us, her eyes instantly turned red. Not only did she cry like a pear blossom drenched in rain, but she also pointed at me and started accusing me. "You hit me. You owe me my baby." A familiar scene. I anticipated her move and directly pulled Mike in front of her. "Wait, he's the one who saved you, not me. I didn't even touch you." Mike was stunned for a moment, but he was dizzy from anemia and couldn't even dodge. I stood there with my arms crossed, looking completely helpless. "See? I told you she was trying to scam us." I originally thought the change in plans would catch her off guard, so I even thoughtfully went to the restroom to give them space to talk. When I came back, there was a big, burly man in the room, and Mike was being held by his collar by this man. "You made my sister miscarry. You have to compensate me. $500,000, not a penny less." Mike cried out in grievance as soon as he saw me. "Babe, tell them it wasn't me who hit her." A flicker of hatred flashed in that other woman's eyes, and tears immediately rolled down. Coupled with her pale, bloodless face, she actually looked somewhat pitiful. But she deserved it for being someone else's mistress. I pretended not to understand their act and even played along, rushing forward. "Aren't you being ungrateful? My husband kindly saved you, and you're turning around and accusing him? Besides, even if you were pregnant with a superhero, it wouldn't be worth $500,000. When I said that, the other woman's crying and screaming got even louder. "I think you're just trying to scam us. If we hadn't taken you to the hospital, you'd probably be dead with your son by now." The man was furious, the veins in his temples throbbing. "What did you say? In my previous life, this man only appeared at the very end, like a praying mantis stalking a cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. This man was the real winner. If I hadn't seen this man meeting secretly with that other woman after I died, I wouldn't have known he was her ex-husband. Mike and I in my previous life were just pawns in their game." Seeing his angry reaction, I deliberately continued to say hurtful things. "It's true. What heavily pregnant woman is out alone in a place with so few people? Where's her husband? Why isn't her husband here? Could it be she really is someone's mistress? Is the baby's father still at home with his real wife?" As soon as I finished, the man couldn't stand it anymore and punched Mike in the face. Mike yelped in pain but was completely defenseless. The other woman was startled and quickly pulled the man back. Only I silently smirked. In this life, the one thing I wasn't afraid of was making a scene. The man was hitting so hard that she couldn't pull him away. In the end, the hospital nurses helped call the police. Mike winced in pain, his eyes full of blame when he looked at me. I, on the other hand, looked at that other woman with righteous indignation. "You're heartless. You'll get what's coming to you." The police will give us justice. That other woman's eyes were red-rimmed. Whether from anger or heartache, I didn't know. I'm a victim. I'm a mother who just lost her child. Why are you being so aggressive? Call the police if you want. The law will punish you. The car that hit her was intentionally arranged by Mike, and the location was carefully chosen. The most crucial thing was that our dashcam just happened to be broken too. Even if the police investigated, there would be no evidence to prove our innocence. Plus, with her identity as the victim, public opinion would definitely be one-sided. However, this time, I recorded a video. The most important thing was that Mike, not me, was the one who went to help her. Although husband and wife are supposed to be one. But that saying is true. Husband and wife are like birds in the same forest. They fly away separately when disaster strikes. That other woman insisted that we were the ones who hit her. Officers, they are the ones who hit me. They brought me to the hospital because their conscience got to them, and they were afraid of something worse happening. Otherwise, why would they be so kind and even pay for my medical expenses? Mike, just like in my previous life, was speechless by her statement. He even started trying to negotiate with her in the end. Can you take less? Do we have to give $500,000? That other woman and the man wouldn't budge, while Mike cautiously looked at me. I smiled. Honey, you were driving. If you have the money, just pay up. Mike's face stiffened. Babe, aren't you the one who handles all the money in our family? That other woman wanted to use Mike to force me to pay up. But I insisted I didn't have any money. I don't care. If you don't give me the money, I'll jump off the building and die for you to see. Anyway, my baby is gone, there's no point in me living anymore, sob sob. When we got home that night, Mike kept looking like he wanted to say something, but I just kept eating and drinking like nothing happened. When I was on my second piece of durian cake, Mike finally couldn't hold back anymore. I was sitting on the sofa, and he knelt in front of me, pleading humbly. Babe, I shouldn't have gone to save her against your wishes. It's my fault for underestimating how wicked people can be in this society. I know we have money. Can you help me out? I promise I'll work hard from now on. I'll work hard to earn money and fill this hole. I almost laughed. With his salary of $3,000 a month, he expected to save up $500,000 to pay me back? I'd have to wait until pigs fly for that. So I pushed him away and said earnestly, whether we have it or not, I won't give it to them. If we really hit someone, we'd go through insurance, but she's clearly trying to scam us. I won't pay a single penny to someone like that. We didn't hit anyone. Giving them money would just encourage bad behavior. After that, I went straight into the spare bedroom and locked the door. You sleep alone tonight. Think about whether that makes sense. I didn't need to look back to feel how chilling his gaze was behind me. Sure enough, in the middle of the night, I heard the sound of him making a phone call from the next room. I didn't hear the specifics, only that he said something like they would do something drastic tomorrow. I adjusted myself into a comfortable position and fell asleep again. I was looking forward to seeing the show tomorrow. Early the next morning, Mike started banging on the door like crazy. Babe, wake up. That woman jumped off the building. I pretended to be asleep and didn't make a sound. In reality, I was standing in front of the mirror, deciding which outfit suited my style better. After all, I had something big to do today. Babe, stop sleeping. This is a matter of life and death. Look, she's live streaming. Everyone online is cursing us. How can you still sleep? Another live stream? I lazily replied, huh? Okay, I got it. You go ahead, I'll be right there. After Mike left, I opened my phone and checked the live stream. It was the same tactic as in my previous life. That other woman was crying her eyes out to the camera, and there was a flood of comments cursing us. The only difference was that this time, her camera was pointed at the top of a 6-story building. Sister, don't do it. The people who hit you are the ones who should die. They're living perfectly fine. Why should you kill yourself? Please think clearly, okay? The person above is right. If you're not afraid of dying, are you still afraid of getting justice for yourself? Please be okay, come back down. Who is the scumbag who hit someone and refuses to compensate? Damn it, I have cancer, and taking one person with me before I die would be a contribution to society. Looking at these comments, my heart was calm. These were the things that destroyed me in my previous life. But since I was given a second chance at life, I wouldn't be defeated by these things. Mike soon appeared in the frame and immediately knelt on the ground. Don't jump. If you jump, my wife and I will become criminals. That other woman shook her head tearfully. You're trying to force me to die. After saying that, the man who claimed to be her brother rushed up and kicked Mike. Where's that damned wife of yours? Your wife is the one who's refusing to pay. Why isn't she here? Mike went along with it and lay on the ground. Bro, my wife doesn't want to take responsibility. She says we didn't hit anyone at all. I laughed out loud when I heard that on my way there. See, whether it was in my previous life or this one, Mike would choose to use his words to condemn me at the first opportunity. By the time I arrived, the firefighters had already set up cushions downstairs. The jumping incident reached its climax with my appearance. I looked completely innocent. Sister, why are you trying to jump off the building overnight? My husband and I kindly helped you after seeing you bleeding heavily on the road, but why would you? Learning from that other woman, I covered my face and started crying as I spoke. But I didn't expect her to go to such extremes for money. She shrieked. Are you saying I'm trying to scam you? Why would I use my baby's life to scam someone? If you don't believe me, I'll die for you to see. After saying that, she actually let her feet dangle over the edge and started to fall. Mike instinctively yelled, Lisa, no. She wasn't stupid, her hands were gripping the railing tightly. After being pulled up by the firefighters, she was crying so hard she could barely breathe. It was windy on the rooftop, and she had just given birth. Standing there weakly, she had an air of fragility about her. This made netizens curse even more fiercely. But I laughed. It's really a coincidence, but the day my husband went to rescue someone, our dashcam was broken, and there were no surveillance cameras on that road. Halfway through my sentence, the corners of their mouths twitched uncontrollably. But I changed the subject. But thankfully, I have a habit of having a backup plan. I recorded a video on the day of the incident. As soon as I said this, that other woman's body visibly stiffened. Mike was also stunned for a moment. Wife, when did you record it? How come I didn't know? This getting blown up isn't good for anyone. How about we settle this privately? I pushed him away directly, and then took out my phone and played the video for the live stream. The video clearly showed that other woman was 10 meters away from our car. The comments immediately shifted direction. Just as fiercely as I had been cursed, that other woman and the man were now being slammed. Damn it, wasted my sympathy. It serves you right that your baby is gone. See, after having a baby, your nerves go crazy. And jumping off a building, making it seem real. People saved you and you still try to scam them. Why didn't you just fall and die just now? Watching these vicious comments, that other woman was stunned. She looked like she was saying, how is this not going according to plan? Mike looked at me confused. Why didn't you take out the evidence earlier? I smiled. If I had taken out the evidence, how could I have watched them dig their own graves like clowns? Everything I experienced in my previous life, I wanted them to experience too. Now let's see how she'll handle this. The other woman looked at Mike helplessly, unable to refute the vicious curses. I looked at her angrily. It's because of people like you that no one dares to do good deeds anymore. She looked around. No one was speaking up for her. Even when she climbed over the railing again, no one stopped her. In the end, Mike gave her a way out. Don't jump. Let's just clarify things. Don't jump. If you apologize, we won't pursue this anymore. Even though I couldn't see Mike's face, it wasn't hard to guess that he was making frantic gestures with his eyes. The other woman looked at me, struggled for a long time, and then let out a wail and started crying. I'm sorry, I was possessed by a ghost. I was so heartbroken after losing my baby. I apologize to you. I'm sorry, I was also knocked out when I was hit, and when I opened my eyes, I saw you guys surrounding me. I really didn't mean to frame you. I'll bow to you and apologize. I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. As she spoke, she actually started bowing her head, hitting the ground with a thud. Mike looked at me with a complicated expression, but I had no intention of stopping her at all. Bow all you want. 100 bows would be deserved. Her ex-husband couldn't stand to watch and wanted to pull her up, but she stubbornly stayed on her knees, refusing to move as if her life depended on it. But that trick wasn't working anymore. Fake green tea, keep pretending. How long are you going to keep this up? You just wanted to use online bullying against them. Do you think netizens are idiots? Go die. Mike was probably feeling sorry for her, and still wanted to help her up. I grabbed his arm. Honey, don't forget how she slandered us just now. Mike's steps froze again. Seeing that the situation was bad, the other woman directly closed her eyes and fainted. The scene became chaotic again. But did she think she could get away with it this time? I smirked, looking at Mike's back. If he knew that other woman had other men, and that he was just a pawn in their game, what would his reaction be? After returning home, Mike was clearly distracted. I continued living and working as if nothing happened, and even when I saw Mike looking like he wanted to say something, I avoided the topic completely. Finally, 2 days later, the other woman made the local news. After losing her beloved child and completely losing face, she attempted suicide by taking pills in the hospital again, but failed. 3 days later, it was the weekend. I had just woken up when the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, it was the other woman and her ex-husband. They were supporting each other, and as soon as they saw me, they knelt down without a word. Sister, I came to apologize to you. When I opened my eyes, I saw you and honestly thought you were the driver who hit me. I'm sorry, I was blind. After saying that, the two of them supported each other and left. While I was still surprised, Mike suddenly sighed. Honey, $500,000 isn't much for our family. Why don't we just give them a little something? After all, they lost a child. Since we encountered them, let's just give them some compensation. Couldn't get it through deception, so now you're asking for it openly? I looked down and sneered coldly, then clicked my tongue. Honey, you have a point. Just as Mike's face lit up with joy, I changed the subject. But even pitiful people have hateful qualities. What's the point of giving them $500,000? It's not enough for her husband's gambling debts anyway. He'll lose $500,000 in less than 3 months. Why should we give him money to? Before I finished speaking, Mike's eyebrows furrowed tightly. She has a husband? I controlled my smile and said seriously. That man is her ex-husband. They divorced because they owed a huge amount of money. The gambling debt was exactly $500,000, no more, no less. Otherwise, why do you think they asked for exactly $500,000? Sure enough, his face changed drastically, and he rushed out of the house immediately. Looks like there's going to be infighting. He thought that other woman was his true love, but little did he know that she and her husband didn't even see him as a serious player. Mike came back that day and clarified the matter with me. Honey, you're really overthinking this. That man is her cousin. She even showed me their family group chat to prove it. I silently called him an idiot, but put on a surprised expression. How could that be? I even specifically had someone investigate before. Between me and that other woman, Mike clearly chose to believe her. But it didn't matter. I turned around and posted on social media, asking netizens to help me gather evidence. Could a kind person please help confirm the relationship between these two? $500,000 cash reward for effective evidence. Limited to the first 5 people, first come, first served. I also included photos of that other woman and her ex-husband below. The post immediately got some attention online. Netizens were saying that the pregnant woman had messed with the wrong person by tangling with me. At the same time, Mike roughly pushed open my study door. Sarah, you're asking netizens to find evidence and giving them $500,000? You can't just throw money away like that. I tilted my head and looked at him, saying directly, what's $500,000? Is that a lot? Mike's face was pained, his chest heaving with anger. He wanted to say something else, but I waved him away. My direct messages were blowing up. I still had to busy myself with finding evidence. In just 2 hours, someone who worked at the Civil Affairs Bureau said they had processed their divorce just last month. They were indeed officially married before. But before I could even show this to Mike, that other woman called me. Sarah, don't act all high and mighty just because you have a little money. You have money to give others $500,000, so why not give it to me? You're illegally collecting people's information. You're invading my privacy. I'm going to sue you. I just said flatly. At this moment, Mike walked in. I put it on speakerphone. If you have nothing to hide, why won't you let me investigate? Also, I can spend my money however I want. Why are you so possessive of my money? Oh right, netizens have already proven it. That man is your ex-husband. Why did you tell my husband and me that he was your cousin? As I spoke, I showed Mike the evidence provided by netizens. Mike's face darkened visibly. He said word by word on the phone, Lisa, John Doe, divorced on August 14, 2024? The other woman on the phone completely shut up. She said the baby in her belly was Mike's, but she hadn't been divorced at that time. Mike's expression was unreadable. He just said, Sarah, I have to go out for a bit. Looking at the phone that hadn't hung up yet, I deliberately raised my voice and asked, Honey, when are we going to transfer the money to Lisa? Didn't she want $500,000? Mike's face was even darker than the bottom of a pot, and he was so angry he punched the wall. Not giving it. Why should our money go to someone else? What does her baby dying have to do with us? After saying that, Mike slammed the door and left. I smiled into the phone. Hear that? Sorry, but my husband doesn't want to give you the money anymore. Lisa cursed loudly on the other end, while I felt a dark sense of satisfaction on this side of the call. I transferred the money to the first 5 netizens who provided valid evidence and posted screenshots. Then I sat in the chair and slowly tapped the table with my fingertips. About half an hour later, I heard the voice of that other woman, Lisa, through my headphones. Mike, why are you so angry? Do you really believe those people? They're just talking nonsense for money. Your wife is so rich, she just threw away $2.5 million. Before she finished speaking, she started coughing violently. Her speech became intermittent. Mike, let go. I can't breathe, cough, cough. Mike gritted his teeth. Tell me the truth, whose baby is it? Is that man really your ex-husband? Didn't you say you've been single ever since you broke up? Just waiting for me. I pouted over here. You believe that nonsense? That other woman sounded like she was being choked and could only make gasping sounds. But the next second, Mike suddenly said, Didn't you already go to the rooftop? Let's go. I'll take you to the rooftop and you can explain everything to me clearly. After he said that, there was a lot of commotion on the other end. I calmly dialed a number. A rough voice answered. It was Lisa's ex-husband, John. He spoke with an impatient tone. Who is it? I pretended to be anxious. My husband seemed really angry and went to look for Lisa. Have you seen him? What? Hearing the call end in a second, I smirked. Go ahead, go. It's only a party when everyone's there. The wind howled on the rooftop, but it couldn't hide Mike's angry voice. He roared, Tell me honestly, or I'll push you down and finish this. You batch, you dared to fool with my feelings. Whose baby is it? The only response from that other woman was her screams of terror. I lied to my wife for you. Even though she's fierce, at least she makes money. You lying batch. You just wanted to take money from me to pay off your husband's gambling debts, didn't you? I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you today. Struggling sounds kept coming through, and I got more and more excited listening. But with a roar, suddenly everything went quiet. Someone fell. Who was it? After I don't know how long, Lisa's terrified voice came through. John, what do we do? We killed someone. Why did you suddenly come over? You really scared me just now, sob sob. John was here. So the person who fell was Mike? John was much calmer than I expected. Stop your damn crying. He fell on his own. It has nothing to do with us, got it? We just pretend we don't know anything. This is between heaven, earth, and you and me. Wait. John's tone suddenly became more serious. His wife seems to know too. After a few seconds of silence, my phone suddenly rang. I pressed the answer button. We found your husband. Are you home? Were they trying to kill me to cover it up completely? Too bad. Those who do evil will eventually destroy themselves. They would only walk into a trap. 15 minutes later, John arrived with Lisa. Through the peephole, he was bowing and being very polite. But as soon as he came in, he pulled out a dagger from his pocket and tried to attack. But as soon as he took out the dagger, 2 police officers on either side of the door put handcuffs on him. It happened so fast he couldn't even react. No. What are you doing? I smiled without a word, and the police showed their badges. Lisa, John Doe, you are suspected of intentional homicide and attempted homicide. Please come to the police station with us. After that, they were taken away without even a chance to argue. While I was giving my statement, I received a call from the hospital notifying me of Mike's death. Mike had fallen from the 16th floor and died. I forced myself to handle his funeral with grief. A week later, I put on a tired look, pulled down the corners of my mouth, and went to the insurance company. Please help me process the claim for Mike's accidental death insurance. After being reborn, I bought a huge life insurance policy for Mike. This drama was destined to end with either his death or mine. And with a second chance, I never thought I would lose. A week later, the $7 million claim payment was deposited into my account. Looking at the balance with many zeros, I smiled. They wanted to kill me and inherit my wealth because I was too rich? But now I had even more money, and they were either dead or in jail. With my recording as evidence, Lisa and John were sent to jail for intentional homicide. Initially, they tried to claim self-defense. But Mike's death was too gruesome. The people who lived on the first floor had installed protective bars outside their window, and Mike was impaled squarely on the pointed end of the bars. He was pierced through completely. I heard the residents on the first floor were so scared they moved out that same night. The incident caused such a stir that no lawyers were willing to take Lisa's case. On the day of the trial, many reporters were outside the courthouse vying to interview me. To this day, netizens still didn't know the real relationship between Mike and Lisa. Many netizens still express sympathy for Mike's fate. Mrs. White, we know you're very sad, but could you share your thoughts now? After causing so much trouble by being a good person, would you still be willing to help others in the future? Everyone looked at me with sympathy in their eyes. I pretended to be numb and looked at the people in front of me. After a moment, I covered my face and started crying. We were all deceived. This was a scam from beginning to end. Lisa was Mike's mistress. They worked together like this just to get my money. As soon as I said this, everyone was utterly shocked. Then why was Mike pushed off the rooftop by her? I took out the recording. Lisa wanted to use Mike to scam money to pay off her ex-husband's debts, but Mike had actually fallen for her. On the day everything came out, he was devastated after learning the truth. This interview was forwarded all over the internet as soon as it was broadcast. Mike went from being pitied by everyone to being reviled by everyone. Some aggressive netizens were so angry they wanted to dig up Mike's grave. At the same time, everyone's anger towards Lisa and the other man reached its peak. Everyone was calling for them to be sentenced to death. As for me, a woman who was cruelly betrayed by her husband naturally gained public sympathy. I subtly revealed my company's business using a side account. Some people who found out immediately came to collaborate with me. In just 1 week, the company's orders increased by 40%. My husband died and I got rich. Even if that other woman didn't die, going to jail was a sure thing. No matter how you looked at it, I was a winner in this life. After Lisa and the other man were imprisoned, I even paid some money to grease some wheels. Prison was full of vicious people. Helping me take extra care of Lisa and her ex-husband was just a small favor. The end.